Okay, so you've done it. You're out of the hospital, feeling better, ready to get back to normal life, and then, boom, the paperwork hits.
Right. That big stack, discharge papers, maybe some test results, and inevitably the bill.
And for a lot of us, it's overwhelming. You kind of just want to stick it in a drawer and, hope it goes away.
Totally understandable. But here's the thing we're digging into today. Those papers aren't just annoying formalities. They're actually, well, really critical tools for your health and your wallet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So looking at the sources we've got, our mission here is to sort of cut through that jungle of jargon.
Right. We want to pull out the key things you need to know, drawing from everything from like global quality standards down to the real nitty-gritty of checking your bill line by line. The goal is helping you handle this part of healthcare better.
And one source dropped a statistic that it floored me. Up to 80% of hospital bills have errors. 80.
It's a staggering number, isn't it? And it really hammers home why you just have to pay attention.
Yeah.
It's not only about being overcharged, though that's obviously huge. Errors there can mess things up for future care, for insurance. It's all connected.
Okay, so patient vigilance, that's clearly step one. But you also mentioned the system itself is trying to get better, right? Quality standards, accreditation bodies, that kind of thing.
Exactly. There's this whole other layer working behind the scenes to improve safety and quality. We're going to unpack how those two pieces, the system trying to improve and you needing to check your own stuff, how they fit together.
Sounds like a plan. Hopefully folks will leave feeling a bit more empowered to tackle that paperwork pile.
That's the idea. Let's get into it.
All right. So the basic problem. You leave the hospital, you get these documents, bills with weird codes, reports full of medical terms. It's confusing. It feels designed to be confusing sometimes.
It really can feel that way.
Yeah.
And that confusion is exactly why taking a moment, taking a breath, and actually reviewing them is so, so important for you personally.
Beyond that crazy 80% error figure we talked about?
Right. Beyond just avoiding overcharges, looking closely helps you, really understand what treatment you got, what it cost. It gets you ready for insurance claims.
And it builds your health record.
Critically important.
Yeah.
It helps you maintain an accurate health history for anything that comes up later.
Because future doctors rely on that history if it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I know it can feel like you're sort of fighting this big system all alone, playing detective. But it's good to remember there are actually big efforts happening globally and regionally to push for better quality in patient safety in healthcare.
Okay, so that brings us to things like JCI Joint Commission International and NABH, that's the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers.
Precisely. These aren't the people checking your specific bill, obviously, but they're major accreditation bodies. They set really high standards for quality, for patient safety that hospitals work hard to meet.
JCI is kind of the global one, right? Loads of countries, thousands of programs.
Yeah, over 70 countries. Their whole mission is aiming for the highest standards possible, everywhere. And NABH does a similar job, specifically within India, setting those benchmarks for healthcare organizations there.
So they're pushing for this ideal of zero harm, super reliable care. JCI has those international patient safety goals, for instance.
They do, and those goals are fantastic. But here's the reality check.
Oh.
Well, even with these amazing systems and standards trying to prevent mistakes, errors can still slip through.
Especially with billing and paperwork, I guess. So much detail.
Exactly. Complex admin stuff, detailed clinical notes, things can get missed or entered incorrectly.
Yeah.
So your review, it becomes this essential sort of final quality check for your specific experience. It closes the loop.
That makes a lot of sense. The system aims high, but you're the final check on your own data.
Okay, so we know why it's important. Let's get practical. How do you, the listener, actually tackle that hospital bill like a detective?
Okay, step one. Absolutely fundamental based on what we're seeing. You must request an itemized hospital bill, not the summary, the line by line.
Correct. You need the detail broke down. Don't just accept the summary page with a big number at the bottom. And try to do this reasonably soon after discharge, say, within 30 days.
And getting digital copies helps, yeah. Easier to search and file.
Definitely a good tip. Digital makes it much easier to manage. Okay, so you've got the itemized bill. Now the real work starts.
Let's run through some common errors the sources flag. What pops up a lot?
Okay. Big ones include duplicate charges getting billed twice for the exact same thing, like a lab test or a dose of medication.
Right.
Upcoding.
Yeah.
This is where maybe you got a simple service, but it gets billed as a more complex and therefore more expensive one.
Sneaky.
Then there's unbundling. charging separately for things that really should be bundled together as one standard procedure cost.
Okay.
Incorrect dates are surprisingly common. Being billed for a day after you're discharged, or for care on a day you weren't even there.
Wow.
Phantom charges, seeing things listed you absolutely did not receive. A medication, a consultation, a therapy session.
Okay, that's just wrong.
Yep, wrong patient info. Believe it or not, sometimes charges from another patient can end up on your bill by mistake.
Oh, boy.
And finally, in-network mistakes. Being charged expensive out-of-network rates when your doctor or the hospital itself was definitely supposed to be in your insurance network.
So, like, an example of upcoding might be they bill for an hour-long consult when the doc just poked their head in for 5 minutes.
Exactly that kind of thing. Or a phantom charge could be seeing a specific type of X-ray listed that you know you never had.
And the sources mention specific things to circle, right? Red flags.
Yeah, things to definitely highlight if you see them. Any charges for medications you specifically brought with you from home.
Okay, yeah. Shouldn't pay for those twice.
Room and board fees listed for after your official discharge time or date.
Makes sense.
And any miscellaneous charge, especially if it's over, say, $100, without a clear explanation of what it actually is.
Got it. So the main tactic here is just patience and detail.
Yeah.
Checking every line against what you remember.
Pretty much. It's tedious, but you have to meticulously cross-check every listed charge, every test, every medication, every visit, every supply against the care you actually received. Did that happen? Did I get that?
And keeping your own records is vital here too, isn't it? Any notes you took, instructions, receipts.
Absolutely crucial. Keep receipts, proof of payments for copays, or anything else. That's your evidence trail.
And don't be afraid to just call and ask.
Definitely. If a charge is unclear or uses the code you don't understand, call the billing department and ask them to explain it. What is the CPT code for? Can you clarify this charge?
Get it in writing if you can.
If possible, yeah. An email confirming their explanation is great documentation. And depending where you are, maybe a quick check for local stuff like sales tax or GST, or making sure any applicable discounts senior citizen maybe were actually applied.
Okay, that covers the bill pretty well, but that's only half the paperwork pile, isn't it? What about the medical report side?
Equally important, maybe even more so for your long-term health. Let's shift focus to that clinical documentation.
Okay. So the sources say there are key documents you really need to grab before you leave the hospital, if possible. What's on that essential list?
Go to the list. The discharge summary. This is critical. It should clearly state your final diagnosis, summarize the treatment you got while you were in the hospital.
Right.
List the medications you need to take at home with the exact dosage and how long to take them, and give clear instructions for any follow-up appointments or care needed.
Okay, discharge summary. What else?
All your investigation reports. That means lab results, pathology reports, x-rays, MRIs, CT scans, any imaging reports. Get copies of everything.
Makes sense.
If you had any kind of surgery or procedure, you need the operative notes. These detail exactly what the surgeon did.
Okay.
A clear, comprehensive medication list. Not just the discharge meds, but sometimes a summary of what you received during this day can be helpful too. And any specific doctor's advice sheets, lifestyle changes, dietary restrictions, physical therapy recommendations, that kind of thing.
And same advice as the bill? Get paper copies, get digital scans, back them up. Don't lose this stuff.
Absolutely. Redundancy is good. Okay, so now you're applying that same detective mindset to these reports. What kinds of errors or discrepancies are you looking for here?
This seems really important for future care. What should you check?
First, diagnosis accuracy. Does the final diagnosis on the discharge summary match what your doctors actually told you?
Okay.
Also, check carefully that any pre-existing conditions you have aren't mistakenly listed as new problems that developed during this specific hospital stay. That can cause insurance headaches later.
Ah, good point. What else?
Procedure verification. Compare what the operative report says was done with what's on the bill and the discharge summary. You mentioned the example earlier. Did the report say open procedure while the bill says laparoscopic? That's a huge difference.
Definitely need to flag that.
Check medication logs or administration records if you can get them. Were you given drugs you know you refused? Or were you supposed to get something regularly but you know they missed doses? And this one's critical for safety. Double check your allergy alerts. Make absolutely sure there's no record of you being given a medication you have a known allergy to.
That's terrifying. That's not just a billing issue. That's dangerous.
Extremely. And other report red flags. Missing consent forms for major surgeries or procedures. Contradictions between, say, what the nurse's daily notes say and what the doctor's final summary claims. Unexplained gaps in monitoring records if you are supposed to be closely watched.
Okay, so why does checking all this report detail matter so much? It sounds like a lot of work.
It is work, but the stakes are high. Incorrect medical records can cause real problems. Future insurance claims might get denied if the documentation doesn't properly support the need for care.
Right.
More seriously, future doctors might make treatment errors if they're relying on inaccurate information about your condition, your history, or your allergies.
Yeah, that's the big one.
And it can even affect things like getting approved for disability benefits or handling workers' compensation claims if the injury or illness isn't documented correctly. Your medical record is essentially the official story of your health event. You need it to be right.
So best practice. Before you leave, ask your doctor to just walk you through the key findings in the discharge summary and report.
Absolutely. Ask them to explain it in simple terms you understand. And then, like we said, keep these reports organized and safe. They're fundamental for managing your health going forward.
Okay. So let's say you've done all this. You've gone through the bill, combed through the reports, and you found something. A charge that's wrong, a report detail that's inaccurate. Now what? How do you actually fix it?
Right. This is where you shift gears from being a detective to being an advocate for yourself.
It feels a bit intimidating, maybe? Calling up the hospital billing machine?
It can be. But the sources lay out a pretty clear path. First step.
Yeah.
Just call the hospital's billing department directly. And here's a pro tip. Always write down the name of the person you spoke to, the date, and the time of the call. Keep a log.
Good advice. Paper trail from the start.
Exactly. And have a simple script ready. Something like, "Hi, I'm calling about bill number, your bill number. I'm reviewing the charges, and I have a question about the charge for a specific item or service on date." Keep it polite but direct.
What if the phone call doesn't cut it? Or it's a really significant error?
Then you escalate to a formal dispute letter. And the key here is sending it via certified mail, return receipt requested.
Why certified?
Because it gives you undeniable proof that they received your letter and when they received it. It strengthens your paper trail immensely.
Okay, and in the letter?
Be very clear and specific. List the exact errors you found, reference the bill line number or the date on the report. Explain why you believe it's an error. And attach copies, never originals, of any evidence you have, like your own notes or maybe pointing out a contradiction within their own records, like nurse's notes state no blood transfusion given, but bill includes charge for transfusion.
Makes sense. Be specific. Provide proof. What if the problem is with insurance, like a claim got denied because of these errors?
Then your next step is filing an appeal directly with your insurance company. There's usually a time limit for this, often something like 180 days, so don't wait too long.
And what do you include in the appeal?
Your explanation of the error, the corrected information from the hospital, if you manage to get it, copies of the relevant parts of your bill and medical record, and crucially, if it's about medical necessity being questioned, include a supporting statement from your doctor explaining why the treatment was necessary.
Doctor's backup helps. Okay. What if you've tried the hospital, tried the insurance company, and you're still getting nowhere?
Then you can escalate further to regulatory bodies. Depending on where you live in your insurance, this might be your state's insurance commissioner or Department of Insurance.
Okay.
Or, if you're a Medicare patient, you can file a complaint with CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. These are basically the higher authorities who oversee hospitals and insurers.
Got it. Now, outside of just disputing errors, the sources mention some other smart strategies, especially around the bill itself, like a pre-bill audit.
Yes.
Yeah.
If your hospital happens to offer a service where you can review an estimated bill before the final one is generated, absolutely take advantage of that. It can catch errors early.
And this next one really caught my eye, negotiation, even if the bill seems correct.
This is huge and maybe underutilized.
Yeah.
Yes, negotiation is often possible. One source pointed out that a significant percentage, like maybe 40%, of hospitals offer financial assistance programs, especially nonprofit hospitals.
Okay.
And get this, that same source suggested hospitals might be willing to reduce a bill, sometimes significantly, like 30 to 50%.
Wow.
If you approach them showing you've done your homework, you understand the charges, you've maybe found some small errors, even if they don't explain the whole cost, and you explain your financial situation. Your detailed review work gives you leverage.
That's incredibly powerful, 30 to 50%. So always ask about financial assistance or charity care, especially at nonprofits.
Absolutely. They often have requirements to provide a certain amount of discounted or free care based on income levels. You have to ask, though.
And when you do negotiate, how should you approach it?
Have a plan. Reference any errors you found, even small ones, to show you've scrutinized the bill. Clearly state what you believe the correct balance should be, or what you can realistically afford to pay.
Be honest about your situation.
Yes. Explain your financial situation calmly and honestly. And then specifically ask, is there any further adjustment you can make? Or would you consider a 0% interest payment plan over X months? Being prepared and specific helps immensely.
Good tips. And there was something about the No Surprises Act.
Right? That's important federal protection, mainly against unexpected out-of-network bills and emergencies, or for certain services at in-network facilities. But another key part is if you got a good faith estimate beforehand for plant care, and your final bill comes in more than $400 higher than that estimate, the No Surprises Act gives you the right to dispute that difference through an independent review process.
Okay, that's good to know. So wrapping this part up, the big mistake is just assuming it's all correct and paying without looking, or signing discharge forms blindly.
Exactly. Don't assume accuracy. Don't sign anything you haven't read or don't understand. That paperwork is your record, your tool, and potentially your protection.
Right. So we've really focused on the patient's role, the detective work, the advocacy. But let's just quickly loop back to the system side we touched on earlier. We mentioned JCI and NABH setting the big standards. The sources also hinted at this whole ecosystem supporting hospitals in actually meeting those standards, right?
Yeah, it's a really complex world behind the scenes. For instance, some sources mentioned healthcare consultancy firms, like one called Supreme Medic.
And what do they do?
Well, their whole business is partnering with hospitals, sometimes right from the planning stages, to help them implement things like quality management systems, the very systems needed to get accredited by bodies like NABH.
So they're helping with the nuts and bolts, facility design, streamlining operations, staffing strategies, choosing the right equipment, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. All the intricate operational pieces that ideally should lead to better, safer patient care. And you'd hope fewer mistakes in things like documentation and billing as a result.
So it's useful context. While we're checking our own bills, there is this ongoing effort from consultants, accreditation bodies, the hospitals themselves, all aiming to improve quality and safety.
Right. The goal of all those systemic efforts is to improve the patient experience and reduce errors. But, healthcare is incredibly complex. Humans are involved. Processes aren't perfect.
Which brings us back to why our individual review is still so vital.
Absolutely essential. Until those systems are perfect, and maybe even then, your eyes on your own records are a necessary check.
Okay, so let's try and boil this down. Based on everything we've dug into from the sources, if you had to give listeners 3 key actions when they get that hospital paperwork, what would they be?
I'd say review, ask, and collect.
Review, ask, collect, explain.
Review every document meticulously. The itemized bill, all the reports. Ask questions about absolutely anything that's unclear or doesn't look right, charges, codes, diagnoses, instructions, and collect copies of everything relevant before you leave if possible, and keep it organized.
Don't just treat it like junk mail or a formality. It's more like a checklist.
Exactly. See it as a critical checklist for your health journey and your financial health. Because these documents, they're so much more than just paper.
Right. They're the official record of the care you got.
They're a major financial statement you need to verify.
They're a core part of your medical history going forward.
And they're your main tool for sorting out any disputes before they become big problems. Getting this stuff right helps with insurance, maybe taxes, definitely future medical care, and just maintaining your own accurate health story.
And it's okay to be assertive, right? One source said something like, you're not just a patient, you're a client.
That's a great way to put it. You're a client engaging with a service provider. It is absolutely okay. In fact, it's smart to ask for clarity on everything before you finalize things, before you leave. You're not being difficult, you're being responsible.
Yeah, that's a good mindset shift. Your healthcare journey doesn't just stop when you walk out the door. Understanding this paperwork is part of it.
It really is. A really significant part.
So the final takeaway here is, don't let that stack of papers intimidate you into ignoring it.
Please don't. Don't just stuff them in a drawer. They're not just random notes and bills. They're literally part of your health legacy, your financial picture.
Taking that time, being proactive, getting organized, it really does give you back some control, doesn't it, over your health story and your finances.
Absolutely. And, once you've got a handle on understanding these bills and reports, the next logical, often challenging step is figuring out the insurance side of things.
Ah, yes, insurance. Maybe a topic for another deep dive?
Could be.
Well, thank you for joining us to unpack all of this today. We really hope this deep dive into the source material helps you feel more prepared and maybe a little less stressed the next time you're faced with that post-hospital paperwork.